Hi, and welcome to the Intentional Wealth Update from Morton Brown Family Wealth. I'm Dennis Morton here with Katie Brown. How are you doing, Katie?
Hey, Dennis, great. Welcome back. The last couple, I think, has been Cody and I, so fun to have you back on board for this video.
I'm not sure where I've been, but thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I know you've been here, but you have to switch it off on occasion. I'm
trying
just
to mix
saying.
it up. Keep everyone on their toes.
It's been a little while, the two of us, so.
This is a very Katie Brown episode because we're going to be talking about tennis, but in the context of your financial identity. We did a masterclass a couple weeks ago. We talked about that investment philosophy, but philosophy is different from identity. And what we do when we find these topics is we read and listen to a lot of different fields and think, how do we apply this to finance? How do we apply this to money and the relationship we have with clients and making good decisions and all those things? So Katie, we both listened to a great podcast with Michael Gervais this week. Tell us a little bit about the thrust of the podcast and why it kind of captured our attention in the work that we do with clients.
Yeah. So Michael Gervais, he is a sports psychologist, and he always has interesting guests and interesting stories that he brings forward. Well, he recently interviewed Paul Annacone. Paul was Pete Sampras's coach, Roger Federer's coach. He's had the opportunity to work with some incredible tennis players, but the way that he approaches coaching, I think, really resonated with the both of us. We are big fans of coaching ourselves. We have a business coach, Steve Sandusky. He's fabulous. And in some respects, I think our role as advisor is also kind of like a role of a coach at times. And so there were some elements of the podcast that like light bulb moments that went off.
Yeah. One part of the conversation, they dive into this idea of the identity that these players have and that develops over time. And Pete Sampras and Roger Federer were very different in who they were when they showed up. So Sampras, in the example he gave, was he wanted to win as many Grand Slams as he could. That was his goal, which is fine once you commit to that. But he was very focused. He wasn't in it for the glam and the glitz and Letterman and everything else. He just wanted to win tournaments. Federer was different. What do you say about Roger Federer? Why was he so unique?
There's a line in there which I think made a lot of sense. He said, what made Roger so interesting is that he was interested. He was interested in just about everything. Like he would travel to play a tournament in a city and he'd take his kids to the local museums. Or he would sign up for smaller tournaments that his coach Paul was like, why are we signing up for this tournament? Roger said, well, because I want to see a new city. I want to experience the environment. I want to learn from the people that I'm talking to. Major sponsors, he would spend a lot of personal time with them to really understand their business, their products, what they're doing. He was just interested in a lot of different things.
Yes. And it was interesting. He said they were mostly fully formed in this identity by the time they got to him. So they had developmental coaches that came through the tennis ranks. And then by the time they were at the pro level and at the level where they would be coached by him, his job became to try and either help define the identity or to accept it and manage it. So it's okay that they didn't have to be exactly alike. Pete could go try and win tournaments and stay in his hotel room. Roger can be out going to museums on the days of tournaments. And that was perfectly fine. But it's that accepting.
I think what was fascinating that he brought forward was the idea of we all have our own unique identity, which is basically how we see ourselves. But then the philosophy is the systems that we build around ourselves for how, and then that coaches can help build also for how we manage through to achieve those goals. So those systems, that's kind of the philosophical side. And Dennis, you recently led a masterclass on investment philosophy and how to create your own investment philosophy. And so that was, once again, one of those light bulb moments inside of this podcast. We're like, that is a lot of what we've been talking about with clients. And when it comes to kind of building those systems around your beliefs and how they fit into your identity.
Yeah, I think it's that sometimes if your philosophy and your identity aren't aligned, you just feel there's a frustration. I think when he first started working with Pete Sampras, Pete had that frustration. Some of what Pete Sampras was trying to do is gain permission to say, I'm someone who says no to a lot of things. I don't need to go do everything in the world. I can just focus on this. And that's a liberating feeling. Once you say, I'm someone who does this, and this is what I believe. I think that's an important realization to come to. As investors, we're very similar. By the time someone comes to us, they're rarely a novice with money. They've had a lot of experiences. They've had some wins, they've had some losses. They've had some things they wish they did better, some things they wish they knew. And part of our job is to figure out, who is this person that's coming here? And how do we align their sense of financial identity with their investment philosophy so that it helps give them the freedom within those boundaries to operate successfully? And that's really what the planning process is. It's reconciling your financial identity with a set of guiding principles.
Yeah. And those guiding principles are so important, I think, because they do help maintain that alignment. You need both. You need that good, solid understanding of your identity, and you need the systems, the philosophy that's going to help keep you on track. And if you're not solid on both sides, then you'll feel that friction along the way. There was another cautionary piece inside of the podcast, though, too, that I thought was very helpful to think through, in that you have to be careful when thinking about your identity. So Pete Sampras, as you mentioned, part of what drove him is the desire to win as many titles as possible. He loved it. He loved to compete. He was an incredible competitor, and he was laser focused. They said that multiple times. And it's interesting because I also read the book Agassi, and I think that you've read that as
Yes,
well.
open. Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, and there were elements in there when Andre would have similar comments about Pete, like, he is so focused, he is on when he's out there. But I think he also knew very well who he was, who he wasn't, and it wasn't so much of a drive for the money or the drive for the fame or anything else. It was a lot of contentment around those pieces, but the true desire to compete. I think tying up your identity in something like, I am a competitor, I am somebody that likes to learn, I like to, expanding beyond just the finite winning or not winning, I think is really important. And that comes into personal finances as well, because it's not necessarily about hitting a number or not hitting a number. It's
Right.
identifying elements of yourself beyond that, because you don't have control over all the things, and there has to be satisfaction and fulfillment beyond just the black and the white.
Yes. At every tournament, all but one person is really mad if winning and losing is all that matters, because everyone else is walking away losing. So tying back to investing, do you need to be at the top all the time? Well, sometimes you're just not going to be. And you have to define what joy of the journey you have. I mean, I've been writing a newsletter this week, and part of what we talk about is how I've really worked hard on this notion of, I am someone who, and it's, I am someone who enjoys the work of advising families and creating financial confidence and being an entrepreneur. I'm also someone who loves being outdoors and being on the trail and breathing in fresh air and running up steep hills. I'm also someone who does music or has hobbies and other things like that. But that identity, it reminds me of the things that I do and the way that I am in support of those philosophies. And it's healthy, because sometimes I look over something's happening over there, but that's not something that I do. For me, it's been a really healthy construct to avoid FOMO or thinking the grass is greener, or deviating from strategies that I know are best for me, my family, the business, all those things.
Mm-hmm. And that all ties back into keeping things focused, simplistic, and being able to filter out the noise of the other things that maybe don't align with your identity and your philosophies.
What are some parts of your financial identity, or even non-financial? Are there elements where you say, this is absolutely an important part of who I am, and it helps to guide my decisions and how I work?
I would say I am someone who does not like unnecessary stress. For the things that I can control, and that full not full, nobody has a full recognition of everything they can control. I always think I can control more than I can.
I'm getting close. I'm like that far away from full recognition. I expect by September I'll have it.
No, but I think that part of who I am is the ability to step back and say, I can't change it, I can't control it. Let me focus on the things that I can, and it's not worth stressing over the things that I can't. I think part of my identity, hopefully, is being able to let go, or not let unnecessary stresses percolate too far.
I think that is such a valuable point and really good fundamental, because I think that should be universal. Like people should say, if I can adopt that attitude and then pair it with optimism, that would be like, that's a superpower, especially now. If you can avoid the stresses of the noise and then lean toward glass half full,
Mhm,
that seems like a pretty good identity to have.
mhm.
A lot of what we talk about are the soft skills around investing. But truthfully, the soft things are the hard things. They're the things that kind of rattle around and make us question our strategy, question our plan, and really, create discomfort where maybe it's not necessary. So we want to try and be good coaches for our clients, be good coaches for our team to help find the right identity, help to manage it to achieve results in a financial plan.
That's the fun stuff.
That's
That's
the fun
that's
stuff.
not
Yeah.
always the easiest, but that's where you get to the meat, I feel like, in client conversations and in working with couples. So love
Yep.
it.
Good.
All
One,
right.
one more quick announcement. Got some exciting things coming up. For those of you who love watching us on video, you're really going to love just hearing our voices. So you see behind me, I have a microphone. Yeah, I've always been told I have a face for radio, so this will be good. So we are launching a new podcast where Katie and I are having conversations about money and purpose. We're going to tease out that a little bit here. It's going to be launching here soon. I look forward to giving it a listen and hopefully providing some more advice and conversation between the two of us.
Until next time.
Take care.